that is Philadelphia. As we were discussing late last night, I think this game ended quarter to midnight. As the Philadelphia 76ers down in Houston lose to the Houston Rockets, a 132 to 123 double overtime loss to the Houston Rockets. And this is obviously disappointing. And I think for me, more so, it's frustrating because it's the Houston Rockets. And I know a lot of people are going to wake up this morning and see the final score and the box score and freak out. And I already saw the fire doc. And the fact of the matter is, these type of losses happen in the NBA. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, let's not act like we haven't seen a clear front-running team losing to a tanking team. Like, this happens all the damn time. I think what's more concerning in this game is some of the in-game decisions and some of the stubbornness that Doc Rivers continues to show you. The big main storyline in this game was the fact that James Harden was returning back to action after missing the last 14 games. And what better way to come back than your former team that really gave you your totem pole into stardom in the Houston Rockets. And although James Harden made it seem like this was just another game on the regular season schedule, no, it's the Houston Rockets. It's a team that you love. They gave you your stardom. They gave you your opportunity. And if we learned anything from Sunday afternoon's game against between the Birds and the Titans, revenge is definitely on the mind for some of these players. And I don't think per se revenge for James Harden was on his mind, but his emotions may have been a little bit heavy. Now, look, he's missed a lot. He's missed 14 games. We all know the situation with James Harden. We all know that stamina, age, and all that is a factor with James Harden. I think tonight and the struggles with him and him and Joel really did struggle in this game. We'll talk about some of their late game mishaps, but you could clearly tell that James needs a transition period. He needs to get acclimated to it. He looked off. The turnovers were bad, and I just don't understand. I do understand why to an extent because, number one, it's Doc Rivers. He's stubborn. Number two, you're trying to get players acclimated, and I think that the Sixers may have looked down on the Rockets just a little bit because I think what Doc was trying to do was, listen, James is back. James is the one that's going to be taking the last-minute shot at the end of the game. And, yeah, I agree with that, but in this type of instance where you have an opportunity to win the game, Tobias Harris was on fire in this game. He was the main source of offense throughout this game as well, as he finished with 27 points. And you could clearly tell he was on. He was scoring in every which way. He was driving to the paint like we always see him try to get points. He was hitting those quick shots as well from three, from mid-range shots as well. So everything was falling for Tobias Harris. So in those late minutes, I just don't understand why we didn't give the ball to Tobias Harris with an opportunity to win. And it wasn't just in the final minutes of the regular time. First overtime, second overtime, Tobias Harris wasn't a part of the offense. And that is where Sixers fans, and myself included, is going to get frustrated, Doc Rivers. We get it. We understand that James Harden more than often will be taking that last shot. But this is the first game back. Why not make things a little bit easier? Why not put the ball in Tobias Harris's hands in the last minute of the game when he clearly had the hot hand? And those are the type of things that are definitely going to frustrate a lot of us. But we'll talk a little bit more. I do want to formally welcome everyone to Sixers game recap. I know it's a little bit early. It's currently 6 in the morning here, Eastern Standard Time, as we're talking about this game. So I do want to thank everyone for tuning on in. Make sure you guys take a second, hit that like button, subscribe for more. It would truly mean the world to me. We talk Philly sports all the time. We got all excited about that Trey Turner as the SEPTA. That's how Philly we get. We got the SEPTA buzz driving right by us. We're all excited about Trey Turner. Obviously, that was the big news of yesterday. And, of course, the Flyers getting a huge upset win over the Colorado Avalanche. That's fantastic to wake up to as well. And the last thing that we all wanted was the Philadelphia 76ers to lay the big fat goose egg down in Houston against the Rockets. It was freaking empty. How are you that empty, Houston? The Toyota Center was dead. I get it. The Rockets are garbage. Actually, they're not that garbage that you may think it is. These guys have been winning against some good teams. They've been getting some good teams all that they can handle. What, they take the Los Angeles? No, what was it? The Golden State the Phoenix Suns. They won in the final minutes about a week or two ago. This is a good basketball team. What was concerning all throughout the night for myself, and it stems defensively, and we talked about it before the game, this Sixers team struggles against teams with athleticism. And that's what the Houston Rockets were really doing here tonight. They really had the Sixers on their heels defensively. Excuse me. When you have the athletic guys, the guys who could drive to the paint, kind of like the Houston Rockets can, the Sixers really honestly struggled. Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green, their backcourt, has been highly touted. It's a young bunch that are really hungry. Both those players, you had Jalen Green with 27 points and Kevin Porter Jr. with 24 points. Now, for the Houston Rockets, they shot 35% from the 3-point line, 44% from the field. So they were definitely knocking down some shots, but the 3-point shot was 14 to 39, so not at a really high clip. It was mostly coming in the paint, and that's really where the Houston Rockets were doing a lot of their damage, as they were getting a lot of those points in the paint, as Houston had 52 points in the paint to the Sixers 40. When you have Joel Embiid, that's got to get better. Flat out, that's got to get better. And this was another game where Joel Embiid did look a little bit slow. And it's funny because Joel Embiid still dropped 39 points. It's just the beauty of Joel Embiid. He right now he looks like he's not putting a lot of effort into it, and yet he's still making baskets. And I talked about it before. I think what this team is best suited for going forward is just treating Joel Embiid like a role player. I'm being dead serious. Like, you have one of the best rim protectors in the game. Why not use that? Right? Why is it that Joel Embiid is lying up in the top of the game? We've talked about this thousands of times. It's fine in the it's fine in the regular season, but the playoff time, that's got to get changed. And you're talking about getting acclimated, and that's one thing that this team could get acclimated with. The ball movement with Joel Embiid was out was fantastic. It was great, and they kind of has steered away from that, and that's something that they need to get back to, is moving that ball a little bit more, especially with James Harden in the realm now as well. So when I see this offense, I don't think it needs to go through Joel Embiid. And I think James Harden definitely does change that, but a little bit too much here. You're trying to get a basket, and you got Joel Embiid trying to create something from the top of the key, and you're just not getting much of anything. But this team and that athleticism definitely is a bit of a concern. They could have ran some zone defense. I didn't really see that here tonight. You do have some athletic bodies. Why not force the Houston Rockets trying to shoot, especially when they are getting down shots? And of course, another factor for the Houston Rockets that made them so dangerous here today was just their speed. They were able to get up and down the court. The fast break really didn't kill us there. Thank God, because that's something that would kill us against the Memphis Grizzlies and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Those guys obviously have some more seasoned dogs over there than what the Houston Rockets have to offer. But predominantly, it was just some sloppy play by the Philadelphia 76ers. 20 turnovers, that's just way too much by the Sixers. Way too much 20 turnovers. You cannot give a team like the Houston Rockets, who are just looking for any advantage possible, to kind of get an advantage on the Sixers. Another thing that was really killing the Philadelphia 76ers, they were just fouling at will. And it's probably because they couldn't contain the Houston Rockets. Tonight, the Houston Rockets had 44 trips to the free throw line. 38 were made. 44 attempts, 38. That's a boatload of their points right there, and that was a big factor as well. Again, the DNA of the Rockets team, Kevin Salas, really got to give him a lot of credit. He's got these guys believing, and that's always tough. I mean, we went through the process, and this kind of felt like a process game where I remember during those process years, you had the Golden State Warriors, the Boston Celtics coming into town, and you're getting up for this game, and you're hoping for a little bit of an upset, and the Sixers give it their all. They make it a close game, and at the end of it, they just blow it because they just don't have the same firepower that the other team has. And the teams would always come back, and the Warriors would come back from a 14-point deficit and get the dub in overtime. And that's kind of how it felt here tonight. You had a team that was clearly in a rebuild. They're in the point of their process where they're developing these young players. They may have some kids here for the future, especially this backcourt and Kevin Porter and Jalen Green. The future's really bright for them. They came in here looking to get the dub. And I think that karma is a factor here as well. We all remember how James Harden ended his tenure with the Houston Rockets. He literally told those kids, "I can't win with you. I want out." And you don't think that these guys took that and took that personally, as the great Michael Jordan once said? I definitely think that that was a factor here tonight. And that gave him a little bit of an edge as well. And these guys are dogs, right? These guys are dogs. And I don't want to give the Houston Rockets too much credit because the fact of the matter is the Sixers should not be losing to the Houston Rockets. But here on this channel, we give credit where credit is due. And we can also be honest that tonight was frustrating, but we can also be honest with ourselves and give credit to the Houston Rockets because the Sixers had no business of losing this game. And the fact of the matter is this went into double overtime. And in overtime periods, this team was a different team. Especially the first overtime, the Sixers were literally hanging on the thread. And by the second overtime, that thread snapped. And the Sixers had no answers. They just laid over. And the Rockets got to a comfortable 9-point lead, and that was really it. And the Sixers would lose in a 9-point game. I mean, look, it goes back to the in-game decisions of Doc Rivers. You know, late minutes, you got an opportunity to win this ball game. Like, why are we not finding a way to get the dub? Why are we not getting Tobias Harris the ball? Joel Embiid gets fouled out in the beginning of the first overtime. That's a blow. And the way he got fouled out. Joel, you know better. Keep those hands up. Why are you coming down with those hands? Come on, you're killing me. You're killing me. This was bad, man. This is absolutely bad. Those points in the paint. And this isn't the first time this has happened. This happened quite a bit here now for the Philadelphia 76ers. That's got to get fixed. You have Joel Embiid. You should not get beaten in the paint. And that's definitely a problem. Jalen Green, 27 points. Kevin Porter Jr., 24 points. Eric Gordon, the guy that we all wanted, he dropped 14 points in a big way. Listen, he looks like that old vet with a bunch of kids out there. You know what I'm talking about. Jalen Smith Jr., my first opportunity watching this kid, 16 points. Their bench, Kevin Martin Jr., 14 points. Tony Eason, he was cooking a little bit in the second, third quarters. He had 18 points himself. It's just bad. And here's one of my closing points here. We talked about this before of how when James Harden, Tyrese Maxey comes back, how are you going to implement all these players back, right? And that's going to be the key factor because while James and Joel was out, you had some really big contributions from from DeAnthony Melton and from Shake Milton, right? And that was going to be the key of how Doc Rivers was going to implement them tonight. DeAnthony Melton had 9 points. Shake Milton had 11 points. And, yeah, it's exactly as I expected. Shake tonight had, 26 minutes. D'Anthony was a starter here tonight because no Tyrese Maxey, 40 minutes. But they just didn't get the same looks that they usually get. And so that is going to continue being the struggle with this team. And with the problem with Doc Rivers is being stubborn, it's like how are they going to get minutes? How are they going to get their looks? Because the ball is going to go through James Harden, and if you can't get open, and obviously especially a guy like Shake Milton creates his own shot. That's how he creates offense. He creates it for himself, and so he's not a catch and shoot type of dude. He's not a guy like Tyrese Maxey where James Harden can get the ball to him in transition, and he can make something happen. And that's going to be one because obviously you have something on the bench that could really help you out. And it's about how do you integrate that with everything else. And so the Sixers definitely going to have a tough time with that. This is a bad loss, but this whole road trip, you're going to have to put away. And these road woes do continue here for the Sixers. I don't know what it is. I think it's just really the circumstance. I mean, look, this wasn't a hostile environment. This was Houston in December on a Monday night. They don't care. They're still partying the World Series, as they probably should. But the road woes this is now 3 straight losses all on the road. Now, yeah, you can say Memphis and Cleveland are good teams because they are good teams, and you probably would accept those losses. But this was a little bit hard to swallow. And this is the NBA? Yes. But you're on a 2-game losing streak on the road. This was the opportunity to knock that off. Get things going. I get it, you wanted to get James Harden acclimated his first game back. But Tobias Harris should have been a big part of the end of this game at least. Now, Friday's going to be our next game. You're going to have it's going to be the start of a 7-game homestand. Begins with those bitch-ass Los Angeles Lakers. Yes, I said that. You have 4 days to prepare. Doc, I better see this team in Camden every single day working on this offense. The defense will come. Yes, I'm concerned with James Harden back in the defense taking a hit. But we'll see what happens. Guys, going to do it for today's Sixers game recap. Appreciate everyone coming on in. Bad loss, but we move forward. We move, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Subscribe for more Philly sports. Until next time, I go by the name of El Parcero Philly, and I'm telling you guys, keep your heads up high. Let's go Sixers.